Hi and welcome to Las Colinas Golf and Country Club. My name is Chris Ryan and this is video 2 in the Back to Basics series. We're covering chipping in this video. We're going to be starting off by discussing what a chip shot actually is, how you need to set yourself up, how you're actually going to move the golf club through the swing. We then go to finish up by looking at how you can get your ball to different parts on the green by using a variety of clubs that you're going to have in your golf bag. So welcome to video 2 in this 5-part video series Back to Basics. We are talking about chipping in this video. We're going to cover exactly what a chip is, what the ball should be doing, what your intention should be, and then we're going to cover how you should set yourself up and how you should actually execute the shot. We're going to finish up by looking at different flags. As you can see, we've got a fantastic facility here, different flags, and how you can use a variety of different clubs in your bag to help you get close to various flag positions out on the golf course. So first of all, what is a chip shot? Now, for the purpose of this video, we're talking about shots which are probably only 3 to 4 paces off the green. You can see here I've maybe got 4 paces until I reach the putting surface. So we use a chip shot when we don't feel that we can use a putter. So I'm close enough to most of these flags to be able to use my putter. However, I can't really trust this surface before I reach the green. Because I can't trust that surface, I really need the ball to go into the air and have its first bounce on the surface of the green. The green we know is the best surface on the golf course. We can trust it. We know what the ball's going to do when it lands. We don't know what the ball will do as it rolls through this longer grass, and we don't really know what it will do if it lands in this longer grass. So the idea of a chip shot really is to get the ball just into the air, landing on the green, and then rolling like a putt, hopefully, towards the flag. So with that being said, we really have to read the green as we would read a putt. So once I realise that I'm going to land my ball on the green and it's going to roll for, maybe some 80% of its total journey, I have to read that. I have to understand what the ball's going to do, whether it's going to bend left or right. I'm going for this middle flag here. I've already read it and I believe that this is going to bend a little bit to the left. So when in a moment I choose my setup, I have to take that into account and aim accordingly. Now, I have got a pitching wedge in my hands for this particular shot. We're going to cover towards the end of the video what clubs I might use to approach different flags on this green, but we're going to use a pitching wedge for this particular shot. So the first thing we have to really appreciate when we're chipping is whatever club you may have, whether it's a wedge, whether it's a 9, whether it's an 8, we have to really disassociate what we do with our full swing. We're going to use this club for a very, very different purpose. Therefore, we have to think differently. So the first thing I would get you to do is stand much closer to the golf ball than you would if you were making a full swing. So I've got my pitch wedge, as I said, and I would be stood probably this far away if I was trying to hit this with a full swing over a distance of maybe some 130, 140 yards. But for a chip, I'm going to stand much, much closer to the golf ball. Why that's important is it means that I have to raise the handle to allow myself to get closer. Now, when I raise the handle and I get closer, it effectively makes my swing angle much steeper. The club wants to work a little bit straighter back and a little bit more up and down. The further you stand, the more the club wants to work around you, and it tends to stay lower to the ground. Makes it more difficult to control the direction that the club is pointing, and it becomes more difficult to control how you contact the golf ball. So really important that for these chip shots around the green, you stand much closer and you raise the handle up. You will also notice that when you look down, the toe of the golf club appears to be sitting much lower than the heel. This is absolutely fine. This is what's going to help us get that consistent contact. So once I've got myself much, much closer, I've raised the handle up. I'm going to take my normal golf grip. Now, some golfers like to go down the grip, others like to stay at the top. I would tend to encourage you to use what you feel is comfortable. I tend to go down a little bit, but not too much. So I'm stood much closer. Now, from the front view, I want my heels very, very close, and you can see that there. I would use a guide as the width of a club head. That's not an exact science, but just very, very close to the feet. Notice how both my feet are slightly flared out, and you're going to notice how my sternum is very much in the middle of my feet. I'm really not trying to lean excessively to the left or excessively to the right. I would like to have a little bit more weight on my lead side, but probably not to the point that you would notice any difference. You will also notice that my upper body is very neutral. I haven't got excessive tilt away from the target. I haven't got excessive tilt towards the target. I'm almost just in my normal standing position and I've just bent over towards that golf ball. Notice also that the golf ball is pretty much middle of my heels, and it's also going to be directly under my sternum. I will have a little bit of forward lean of the golf club, which is going to help me make good contact. I also want my arms to be very, very relaxed. So not much tension. I want very, very relaxed, and I want to really feel like I'm comfortable over the golf ball, ready to make a finesse swing. We're not looking to generate power, speed, any of those things here. So I want to feel very comfortable, appreciate that I'm going to make a very, very short swing, looking for finesse, looking for feel. So once we've established a good standing position relative to the ball, we can start to think a little bit about how we're actually going to move the club through this stroke and how we're actually going to get that ball through the air. So the chipping motion is very much controlled by the upper body, the shoulders and the chest. However, as I move my shoulders and my chest, I'm probably going to see a reaction in my hips and a reaction in my knees. I may well even see a reaction in my feet, depending on the distance that I'm trying to hit the ball. This is absolutely fine, and I would encourage this. So whilst we're not really using the lower body to generate any power, we do want to use the lower body to react to the upper body. So you can see as I turn my shoulders back and through, my lower body is reacting to that. So my knees are moving, my hips are moving, and they are being reactive to what my chest is doing. I will have a little bit of movement in my wrists as I swing, but I really don't want to feel that the majority of the movement of the golf club is caused by the wrists. You can see how I can move the golf club just using my wrists. I don't really have to use any pivot at all. And this is a very, very common problem that we tend to see from the golfers who struggle with these shots. These golfers often struggle with distance control. They often struggle with contact and just general consistency within their chipping. Notice how, as a guide, the club is moving back and through roughly the same distance. This is a very, very good guide as a chip shot. We certainly don't want to be short back and then long on the way through, and vice versa. We don't want to be too long and then slowing the club down on the way through. I would look to hit this golf ball with a slightly descending blow. And it's really important that we get the golfers to appreciate that for me to hit a successful shot from here, strike it well, get the right flight, my golf club has to make contact with the ground. And you can see as I'm making these practice swings, I'm really trying to feel where that ground is. I'm trying to gauge the radius between the sole of the golf club and my sternum, and I'm trying to gauge where that ground is so I can feel that interaction, because I'm looking for that when I step in and hit my chip shot. So let's go ahead and hit a shot, taking that starting position, using that swing. We're going to go to this flag here. As I said, there is a little bit of break from the left. So I'm actually going to go and take a setup, and I'm going to make a couple of practice swings. I'm just going to go ahead and execute and see if I can get this ball somewhere near that hole. Okay, breaking right, and it's just rolled on a little bit. That was pretty quick down that slope. Okay, so I landed that pretty much where I chose. It did break as I intended it. The read was good, but it's just rolled on a little bit further than I thought. So now let's go through these different flags on the green and look at how the club selection will influence the ball flight and how we can use that to our advantage. So once we've established a pretty basic chipping motion and we feel like we can get the ball into the air rolling out and we can get that nice consistent contact, we can start to look at how we can use the different tools that we have in our golf bag to influence the result. I've got in my hand here my 60-degree wedge. This is the most loft that I carry in my golf bag. So we're going to go ahead, and we're not really going to be too concerned about any flags, but I'm just going to go ahead here and just hit a chip shot where I try and land the ball just onto the front of the green. So I'm going to take exactly the same setup and the same motion as we just discussed with my pitching wedge, but I'm just going to land it just onto the front of the green. Okay, and you can see it's landed on, it's rolled down, and it's probably ended up some 25 feet away from me. Now, if I was to select my 7-iron, this has got significantly lower loft. This is in the region of about 34 degrees, so almost half of what I've just selected. Now, because the golf club is longer, I can actually take that length away by actually going down the handle a little bit. So I can actually make this club feel very much the same length as my 60 degree. You'll notice that my 60 degree is here. So if I was to go down the handle by a couple of inches, to me, this now feels very much the same length as my 60. That allows me to set myself up in exactly the same position. The only difference now being I've got lower loft. So now if I go ahead and do the same thing, I'm going to try and land the ball just onto the front of the green. You can see how the result is very, very different. Now obviously there's a slope in this green which is going to cause that ball to roll much further, but those golf balls both landed pretty much in the same area, around about here. But the loft that the golf club had gave each of those shots a different trajectory through the air. That trajectory gave the ball a different land angle, and that land angle gave the balls different amounts of rollout. So you can see how that second ball has finished probably 2 to 3 feet away from that furthest flag, even though my motion, my swing felt very similar to the shot which caused the ball to only roll maybe 30 feet. So once we have a pretty good chipping motion, we really want to start to think about how we can use the different clubs in our bag to give ourselves different amounts of rollout and ultimately different results. Therefore, if I had myself in this situation, I would potentially use a different club to each of these flags on the green. And that's a really important skill that we need to develop in practice, but it also comes from just a little bit of experience as well. Going on the golf course and starting to think about what clubs you want to use, and then reflecting on that and thinking, was that the right club? Did I have too much loft? Did I have too little loft? The lower loft we can use, the better. If I take my 60, which is the most loft that I carry, and I wanted to hit my ball to that furthest flag that I've already just hit my 7-iron to, can I use this club and can I get that ball close to that flag? Absolutely, of course I can. But I'm going to need a much bigger swing. I'm going to need much more speed. I'm going to need to carry the ball much further. And there's a lot more to go wrong within that shot. The longer the swing means there's more chance of me striking it. The more speed means there's more chance of me striking it. And the fact that I'm trying to land my ball in a position much further away makes that task much more difficult. So the real message here would be to get the ball to land on the green as its first bounce, and then get that ball to roll to its end destination. So let's now go for the flag that's just at the bottom of the slope on the left. So we know my 7-iron went right the way down the slope and further on, so I don't need my 7-iron. So I'm going to select my, I'm going to select my 9-iron. So I believe my 9-iron is a much better club to enable me to execute this shot. I think it's going to get to the top of the slope and then just run down. So let's go ahead. I've got my same setup. I'm down the handle a little bit. I've picked my landing zone, which is just on the green. I need to make sure I don't hit this first flag on its route. And just go, oh. Well, I'm not sure if the camera picked that one up, but it landed and hit the flag and went in. So that was, I would not have that shot back. I mean, that was actually probably picking up a little bit of pace as it came down that slope. But hopefully that highlights the fact that the 9-iron was probably the right club there. I still was able to land that ball, you know, just onto the green here. It didn't have enough force, it was going way too far, but it had enough force that caused it to roll out to the top of that hill and obviously down towards the flag. So experiment with using different clubs. You can keep the same technique, you can use the same setup, you can use the same motion, but the different clubs are going to give you different options. It's a fantastic way to chip. You only need to learn one shot. You've got a bag full of tools, use those to help you get to those different flags. What I would say here, and this is really, really important when you're hitting these shots on the course, once you have decided the club, and I have decided, so let's go now for that furthest flag again. Let's go down to that bottom one here. Once I've selected the club, I've selected how I want the ball to roll on the green read, and I've decided where I want the ball to land. That land point becomes my focus. So when I'm now making my practice swings, I'm very much focusing on where I want that ball to land. So if I can hit my landing zone, I should be able to get a fairly similar result. So let's see if that finishes anywhere near that flag down there, bottom right. And pretty good. Okay, distance was good, a little bit further left, but really key that we're not looking to hit the ball. When I set here, I'm not looking at the flag. The flag is the end result. I'm looking at where I want the ball to land. If I can do that, Hopefully I've predicted, I've guessed the right club, and we're going to get a fairly decent result. So hopefully that video is helpful. It's covering the basics of chipping. If you can set yourself up correctly, if you can strike the ball correctly, if you can get the right flight and choose the right club, there is a much greater chance of you being able to get up and down more often, or worst case scenario, just take 3 from the edge of the green. If we can just take 3 from the edge of the green, it's hopefully going to mean that we avoid those disasters, those 8s, those 9s, which can wreck the scorecard. So hopefully that video was helpful. Please let me know in the comments box if it was. Also hit the like button, and there's a link over here to subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Make sure you also stay tuned for videos 3, 4 and 5 in this video series covering the bunkers, the swing and the all-important tee shots. Have to say a massive thank you again to Las Colinas Golf Resort for hosting me for a few days. As you can see, fantastic facilities here. This is the Miguel Ángel Jiménez short game area, but the course is also fantastic. If you get the chance to get here and play, make sure you do. You will not regret it. Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon.